It doesn't happen all at once. It's quiet, subtle. You sit down after breakfast just to rest your legs, maybe turn on the TV, check a few things. Then suddenly, it's mid-afternoon and your body hasn't moved more than a few feet. You feel the tightness in your lower back, a slight pressure in your chest that you chalk up to age, and a heaviness in your legs that seems to come out of nowhere. But this isn't just tiredness. This is your heart signaling for help. Because stillness, long, unbroken stillness, isn't neutral. It's a weight your heart was never meant to carry for hours on end. There's a kind of invisible pressure that builds when you sit too long. It presses on your circulation like a slow tourniquet. Blood starts to pool in the lower half of your body. The oxygen your heart is working to push through every artery has a harder time reaching its destination. And slowly, over the course of hours, your blood vessels begin to stiffen. Your muscles weaken. Your blood sugar creeps up. The moment you tell yourself you're just resting, your body starts transitioning into shutdown mode. And the longer you stay in that chair, the more your heart struggles to keep up with a system that's drifting out of balance. This isn't just theory. It's visible under a microscope. Scientists have measured what happens to people over 60 when they sit for more than 90 minutes without interruption. Blood flow drops significantly. Arterial stiffness increases. The body starts secreting more of the hormone that signals store fat and less of the one that says burn energy. It's not the sitting itself that's the enemy. It's the unbroken duration, the stretches of immobility that pass quietly, unnoticed, like fog rolling in through an open window. Your heart doesn't scream. It whispers, and those whispers get buried beneath comfort. But here's the truth. Your comfort zone may be quietly crushing your circulation. This isn't about fear, it's about clarity. The body you live in is still alive, still listening, still capable, and it's waiting, not for something dramatic, but for movement, small, meaningful motion that says, I'm still here, I still care. Because every extra minute you stay seated past that safe threshold, your heart feels it. And eventually it remembers. It begins in the places we forget to check. The tightness behind the knees, the dull pulse in your ankles, the slight swelling in your feet after a long day of not doing much. But under the skin, the story is different. When you stay seated for too long, your blood doesn't circulate the way it should. Gravity starts working against you. Blood begins pooling in your lower limbs, slowing the return flow to your heart. Over time, this congestion builds pressure. Subtle at first, but relentless. And it forces your heart to push harder just to keep things moving. This quiet resistance becomes a daily burden, one your heart never agreed to carry. And the worst part is, you don't feel it as it builds. There's no alarm, no headline moment, just a gradual dimming of your stamina. You walk across the room and feel short of breath. You wake up feeling like your limbs are heavier than they were the day before. Your legs may tingle or feel numb. Not because they're tired, but because circulation is compromised. These are the micro failures that accumulate. And your heart? It's working overtime to compensate for a stillness you didn't even mean to keep. Extended sitting doesn't just weaken your muscles, it stiffens your arteries. It signals your body to slow down metabolism, to stop breaking down fats, to halt the process of glucose regulation. That's why blood sugar goes up after meals when you stay seated. That's why cholesterol lingers longer in your bloodstream. It's not just about weight gain, it's about chemical signals that start betraying your heart's rhythm. The body assumes you've stopped moving because you no longer need to be alert, responsive, or vital. And over time, it adapts to that assumption by turning down the dials that keep you alive. But you haven't stopped living. You haven't surrendered. You just haven't been told that even an hour of stillness beyond your body's threshold creates ripples you can't see until the symptoms surface. You're not being lazy, you're being lulled, and your heart is calling for a new rhythm, one that includes motion as medicine and movement as an act of self-preservation. There's a window, an invisible hour, where everything begins to shift. Researchers call it the tipping point of sedentary damage. Sit still for less than 60 minutes and the body can usually bounce back without much strain. But cross that threshold and something quiet begins to unravel. Blood vessels start to constrict. The cells lining your arteries become less flexible. Your blood pressure ticks upward even if you don't feel it. The enzymes that help break down fats, they slow to a near halt. It's like the body starts dimming the lights, assuming you've closed shop for the day. This is the hour that matters, because it's the one we ignore. You tell yourself, I'll get up in a bit. But a bit becomes 2 hours, then 3. The phone rings, the news plays. The couch holds you like a gentle trap, but your heart, it doesn't get to rest. It starts working harder to move blood through legs that haven't budged. It compensates for the stagnation, and in doing so, it wears itself down, slowly, invisibly, like erosion beneath the surface of a quiet stream. What's haunting is that most seniors don't even realize how close this threshold is. They think damage only happens after years of inactivity. But studies show that even one prolonged sitting session, just one afternoon, can cause spikes in blood pressure that last through the night. Imagine what happens after weeks, months, years. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just trusting comfort over rhythm. But comfort, when it comes from stillness, is a false friend. It hides the costs until they're too large to ignore. The good news is this damage is highly reversible, but not with extremes. You don't need to become an athlete. You just need to respect the hour, interrupt it, break it, walk to the window, stand while folding laundry, shift your weight. Every motion you make before that tipping point resets the clock. It tells your heart, you're not alone. I'm still moving with you. And that might be the most powerful medicine of all. It's not just where you sit, it's what that chair does to your body over time. The living room recliner, the kitchen stool, the firm-backed dining chair you sink into after breakfast and somehow stay in through lunch. These aren't just places to rest. For the aging body, they can become passive traps that coax your muscles into stillness and your circulation into silence. Because when you sit without movement, especially in certain positions, your spine compresses, your core disengages, and the blood flow to your extremities slows to a crawl. And slowly, the entire system begins to downshift. Your heart notices it first. It has to push harder to move blood through bent hips and constricted veins. The muscles in your calves, the very ones that help pump blood back toward your chest, are shut off when you don't move. The body relies on those lower leg contractions like a second heart. But in that chair, they're dormant. You may feel relaxed, but physiologically, your circulation is struggling. And the longer you stay that way, the more your heart is left to do alone. It's not just about fatigue. It's about asking your heart to carry a burden it was never meant to carry solo. And then come the secondary effects. The slowed digestion that leads to bloating and pressure. The stiffened joints that whisper pain into your hips and knees. The shallow breathing caused by poor posture, depriving your heart of the oxygen-rich blood it craves. All this from what felt like a harmless, familiar habit, sitting. But sitting isn't the problem. It's the stillness inside the sitting, the absence of intentional breaks, the subtle surrender of motion. Your chair becomes less of a support system and more of a slow drip weight pulling your health down inch by inch. You don't need to fear your furniture, but you do need to challenge the story it tells, that rest equals recovery. Because real recovery, heart recovery, requires circulation. It requires activation. So every hour, stand up. Shift your feet. Rock side to side. Let your body remember its rhythm. Let your heart feel your support. Because the most dangerous chair is not the one you sit in. It's the one you never rise from. You may not think of your legs as part of your heart's support team, but they are. In fact, they're some of your heart's most loyal allies. Every time your calves contract, every time your thighs flex, they help push blood back up toward your chest. This rhythmic motion is essential. It's what keeps the cycle strong. But when your legs go quiet, when they stay still for hours, your heart has to make up for that silence. And it doesn't do it quietly. It strains, it pushes, it whispers louder in your chest, in your breath, in your energy that drains without warning. Most seniors don't feel the shift immediately, but the signs are there. That heavy leg feeling after sitting too long, the ache in your feet when you finally stand up, the way you catch your breath walking up the stairs, even though you haven't done anything exhausting. That's your circulation struggling to find momentum after hours of dormancy. The stillness in your legs creates stagnation, and stagnation is the enemy of heart health. It slows oxygen delivery, increases the risk of clots, and forces your heart to work harder with fewer allies helping along the way. Blood that lingers in the lower body too long can also trigger inflammation. Your vessels become irritated. Your blood pressure rises. Your body reads this as stress. And when you're under constant internal stress, your heart begins to wear down faster than it should. This is how the most basic act of sitting, when unchecked, becomes a silent assault on your cardiovascular system. Not because you've done anything extreme, but because your legs forgot how to whisper back to your heart, "We've got you." But they can remember. It doesn't take a marathon. It doesn't take a treadmill. It takes intention. Tap your toes, do ankle circles, stand for 2 minutes every hour, wiggle your feet when you're on the phone. These aren't silly movements. They're signals. They're how you tell your heart, you're not carrying the load alone. Because motion is not just for the young. It's the language your older body still understands fluently. All you have to do is speak it. You don't see it, you don't feel it at first. But when your body sits still for too long, day after day, something subtle begins to brew beneath the surface. It's not pain exactly. It's not sharp or sudden. It's slower than that. Deeper. It starts as low-grade inflammation, the kind that quietly simmers in your blood vessels, especially around the heart. It's your body's way of reacting to the stagnation, to the lack of oxygen, to the stress of staying still when every system is built to move. And over time, that simmer can become a fire. Inflammation isn't just about joints or soreness. It's a cellular signal that something is wrong. When your muscles sit unused, they start releasing inflammatory markers. When blood sits pooled in your lower body, it triggers responses meant to protect, but those responses become harmful when they stay activated too long. Your heart begins to live in a state of alert, responding not to trauma, but to inactivity. And this quiet internal alarm system starts damaging your arteries, weakening your immune response, and accelerating age-related decline in your circulatory health. Seniors often notice this in disguise. A sluggishness that creeps into your mornings, swelling in the ankles by the evening, brain fog that won't lift, a sudden intolerance for foods or medications that never used to bother you. These aren't separate issues, they're branches of the same root. Inflammation caused by stillness, and the longer you wait to interrupt it, the more tangled it becomes. Not because your body is failing, but because it's reacting exactly as it should to unnatural quiet. But you are not powerless. Movement is the antidote. Gentle, rhythmic motion flushes the system. It cools the fire. It tells your immune system to stand down. Even 5 minutes of light walking or simple stretching every hour can bring levels of inflammatory markers down by measurable degrees. This is your window, your choice, your power. In a world that tells you to take it easy, you can choose instead to take it seriously. Because the heart doesn't ask for perfection, just partnership. And movement, even the smallest kind, is how you say yes. It's not just your legs that slow down when you sit too long. It's your metabolism, that quiet inner engine that regulates everything from how you burn fat to how you manage blood sugar begins to idle. You may not notice it after an hour, but sit through an entire morning, an afternoon, a full day, and your body begins to shift into conservation mode. It starts storing instead of processing, and your heart, the organ that thrives on balance and rhythm, gets caught in the middle of a system now running too slow and too rough for optimal function. When you sit for long periods, key enzymes responsible for breaking down fats become dormant. That means more fat remains circulating in your bloodstream longer than it should, contributing to the slow clogging of arteries. Your insulin sensitivity also declines, making it harder for your cells to absorb glucose efficiently. Over time, this can spike your blood sugar, stress your pancreas, and inch you closer to metabolic syndrome, a cluster of conditions that dramatically increases your risk of heart disease, all from sitting, not overeating, not failing, just sitting. And what's more insidious is how quietly it happens. You feel a little more tired than usual. Your energy after meals dips. You gain a few pounds around the midsection even though your eating habits haven't changed. The truth is, sitting too long sends your body the message that you don't need energy anymore, so it stops producing it. Your engine idles, and when the engine slows, your heart has to do more with less, pumping harder against a system that's no longer firing on all cylinders. But there's a way to restart the system. You don't need to overhaul your life. You need to reset your body's expectations. A few standing stretches after meals, a short walk before you sit down to read, light arm movements while watching TV. These are not trivial gestures, they are recalibrations. Each movement is a spark in your metabolic fire, and the more often you spark it, the more your body remembers how to burn, how to flow, how to thrive. Movement isn't extra, it's essential. Especially now, especially for you. You shift in your seat, adjust the cushion, stretch your back. You tell yourself it's just stiffness, normal, expected, part of aging. But what if it's not? What if that low hum of discomfort, the aching knees, the numb toes, the shallow breaths, isn't something to brush off, but something to listen to? The body speaks softly at first. It asks gently, then it starts warning. And by the time most seniors notice the discomfort fully, their heart has been bearing the weight of inactivity for far too long. What's been normalized is actually your body's distress call. There's a quiet danger in adaptation. You sit longer because standing feels tiring. You move less because the soreness stays longer. But it's not that movement is causing the pain. It's the stillness. Your circulation slows, your muscles shrink, your joints dry out. Even your nerve sensitivity changes. And slowly, your threshold for movement drops. Not because your body is incapable, but because it's being conditioned to expect less. Discomfort isn't the enemy. Ignoring it is, especially when what feels like aging is actually accumulation of inflammation, of stagnation, of unmet need. Think of the signs. Cold hands and feet in a warm room, a sudden drop in energy midday, feeling off for no obvious reason. These aren't quirks, they're signals. Your body isn't just reacting to time, it's reacting to stillness, to silence in the bloodstream, to a lack of muscular activation that keeps everything flowing, including the nutrients your heart depends on. You may be doing everything else right, eating well, managing your medications, but if you sit too long without interruption, you're sabotaging your system from the inside. But discomfort can also be a compass. It can guide you back to motion if you let it. Start with noticing. When do you feel it most? After how long? Let that be your timer. Rise before the numbness sets in. Stretch before your back tightens. Don't normalize discomfort. Translate it, because it's not telling you to stop. It's telling you to move. And in that movement lies the answer your heart's been waiting for. Your heart was never built for silence. Not the kind that comes from stillness. It beats in rhythm, in movement, in flow. Every part of your body, from the smallest capillary in your toes to the vessels wrapped around your brain, depends on that rhythm being unbroken. But when you sit for too long, that rhythm falters. It doesn't stop. It adjusts, slows, compensates. It tries to work harder in the absence of support from your legs, your lungs, your muscles. But there's only so long it can do that without consequence. The cardiovascular system thrives on movement. It uses the rise and fall of your diaphragm during walking, the flex of your calves when you shift weight, the gentle torque in your spine when you reach. These aren't small, meaningless motions. They're parts of a synchronized dance that tells your heart, we're here, we're helping. But when those movements stop, your heart is left to carry the burden alone. And while it won't complain loudly at first, it remembers. Every missed step, every stalled rhythm, every prolonged pause adds pressure, quite literally. Many seniors think they're protecting their heart by resting, by taking it easy, and rest is important when it follows activity. But stillness without prior movement isn't rest, it's suspension. It leaves the heart floating in a system that's not engaging with it. No rhythmic contractions from the legs, no postural support from the core, no deep breaths to oxygenate the blood. Over time, this creates a disconnect between your heart and your body. And that disconnect begins to feel like weakness, even when strength is still possible. What your heart craves isn't exhaustion, it's rhythm. Predictable, nourishing rhythm. Stand, sit, walk, rest, repeat. Build those cycles into your day, not as workouts but as rituals, as respect for the living pulse within you. Your heart doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present, to show up in motion, to acknowledge that rhythm is life and stillness, when unbroken, is not peace but pressure. And your heart knows the difference. You don't always notice it, but the moment you sit for too long, your breath begins to change. It becomes shallow, quieter, less frequent. Your chest rises, but your diaphragm, the muscle meant to draw in deep, healing air, barely moves. And with each shallow breath, your body receives less oxygen. Your brain stays foggy. Your muscles don't get the fuel they need. And your heart, it starts to strain. Because without oxygen-rich blood, the heart has to pump harder, faster, more urgently, just to keep up with the demands of a body running low on air. When you're upright and moving even gently, your lungs expand more fully, your diaphragm drops, your chest opens, blood flows more easily through the lungs, picking up fresh oxygen and delivering it throughout the body. This is how the system is supposed to work. But prolonged sitting, especially with a curved spine or collapsed posture, shrinks that space. It locks your lungs into a smaller range. Your heart is forced to operate in a compressed environment, trying to maintain normal pressure in a system that's quietly suffocating. The consequences aren't always immediate, but over time they add up. Poor oxygenation leads to fatigue. It affects your mood, it disrupts sleep, and it compounds every other cardiovascular risk. It's not just your legs that go quiet, it's your breath. And when the breath slows unnaturally, the whole system dims. For seniors especially, this change can mask itself as just feeling older. But age isn't the problem, it's the breathlessness beneath the stillness that's sapping your vitality. You can change this. Sit up tall, take a full breath, let your lungs stretch, inhale through your nose, feel your ribs expand, then exhale slowly through your mouth. Do it again and again. Pair this with movement, a short walk, a gentle reach. Let your breath return to its full rhythm, because the more air you bring in, the less pressure your heart carries. Breath is not just life, it's circulation, clarity, and care. And every deep breath is a quiet promise. I'm still here, I still move, I still choose life. There's a strange message we're given as we age. Conserve your energy. And while it sounds wise, even caring, it often leads us in the wrong direction. You sit more, move less, avoid effort. You tell yourself it's protective, gentle, safe. But in truth, conserving energy by staying still can actually cost you more in the long run. Because the body doesn't save energy the way you think it does. It adapts. And when you stop moving, your body assumes you no longer need energy, so it stops making it. Your metabolism downshifts, your endurance slips, your muscles soften, and your heart, it starts to fall behind. You may notice it in simple moments. A short walk that leaves you winded, groceries that feel heavier than they used to, a strange shakiness in your legs after sitting too long. These aren't signs that you're weak. They're signs that your body is deconditioning, not because of illness, but because of inactivity. Saving energy when done passively actually robs your body of the chance to build resilience. It's like unplugging the battery and wondering why the machine won't start. Your heart needs demand to stay strong, and if you remove that demand, it gradually begins to do less. This doesn't mean you need to strain or push through pain. It means you need to move often and purposefully. Gentle movement maintains the baseline strength your heart needs to thrive. Without it, even everyday tasks can become overwhelming. The irony is, the more you try to protect your energy through stillness, the more exhausted you feel when you do need to move. That's not aging. That's biology responding to habit. And the good news? It's reversible. Even now, even slowly. Start small. Stand while brushing your teeth. Do a few seated marches during commercials. Stretch your arms above your head every hour. These moments are more than movement. They're reminders. Reminders that saving energy doesn't mean storing it in stillness. It means creating more of it through circulation, breath, and motion. Your heart is capable of more than you think, but it needs a reason to keep trying. Give it 1, One step, one breath, one motion at a time. It's one of the most common phrases you hear after 60. Take it easy. It sounds compassionate. It feels like a well-earned permission slip. But over time, it becomes a trap. Because what begins as rest can quickly become routine. And when easy means less movement, less challenge, less motion, it's not easy on your heart at all. It's hard on it. Hard in the way sediment settles in a stream bed. Slowly, without protest, until everything becomes sluggish, quiet, tired. Your heart doesn't need punishment, but it also doesn't thrive in passive protection. The truth is, the body adapts to whatever you give it. If you challenge it, it stays engaged. If you underuse it, it begins to shrink its expectations. Your muscles recede, your bones become thinner, your cardiovascular system downshifts. And before long, what was once a short walk becomes a daunting journey. What was once a simple task feels exhausting, not because you're broken, but because the message, "take it easy," has been absorbed into your physiology. Your heart, once responsive and quick, now waits for instructions that never come. Taking it easy doesn't mean abandoning effort. It means respecting your limits without surrendering your potential. And your potential even now is greater than you've been told. Movement doesn't have to be strenuous. It has to be regular, gentle, responsive, aligned with what your heart needs: circulation, oxygen, and activation. Your body is not asking you to be young again. It's asking you to participate, to show up in motion, not just thought. So redefine what easy means. Let it include slow walks after meals, light stretches before bed, standing for 5 minutes every hour. These aren't burdens, they're blessings. They're the proof that you haven't stopped choosing life. Your heart doesn't want extremes, it wants rhythm, it wants attention, and it wants a daily reminder that you still believe in your own vitality, because taking it easy should never mean giving up on what keeps you strong. It should mean taking care, with movement, with breath, with heart. If a pill could lower your blood pressure, stabilize your blood sugar, ease joint stiffness, and protect your heart all at once, you'd take it, no question. But what if that pill isn't something you swallow, but something you do? Movement. Gentle, intentional, consistent movement. It's not just exercise, it's medicine. Not metaphorically, literally. The science is clear. Light physical activity spread throughout the day improves endothelial function, regulates inflammation, and supports the natural rhythms your heart depends on. For seniors, this medicine becomes even more potent because your body is more sensitive to both the damage of stillness and the healing power of motion. Movement activates the systems that age tends to silence. It wakes up your circulation. It re-engages your muscles. It tells your body, "We're still in this." And when practiced regularly, it does more than preserve. It can reverse. Studies show that seniors who incorporate even small bursts of movement every hour improve their cardiovascular resilience, reduce their risk of stroke, and regain energy levels once thought lost to age. It doesn't need to be structured. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be done, often, with intention, with respect for what your body can still do. There's something deeply empowering about this, because for all the things you can't control, genes, past choices, medications, you can still move. And that one decision shifts everything. It's not about trying to go back in time. It's about protecting what you still have and making it stronger. A 5-minute walk every hour can be more healing than an hour at the gym once a week, because it speaks directly to your body's real needs: consistency, activation, attention. So let movement become your new prescription. Let it be the way you show up for your heart, not once a day, but throughout your day. Not to chase youth, but to embrace vitality, because you don't need to rewind the clock to feel better. You just need to get up, move gently, and keep going. Your heart already knows how to respond. It's just waiting for your signal. Let today be the day you send it. Even after years of stillness, even after seasons of fatigue, your heart has not given up on you. It's still beating, still pumping, still responding to every small decision you make. That alone is a miracle, because while the body may slow, while muscles may weaken, the heart remains faithful. Every beat is a message. I'm still here. And what it needs more than anything now is your participation, not perfection, not performance, just partnership, a willingness to move with it, to support it, to give it the conditions it needs to thrive, not merely survive. You've carried so much, perhaps more than anyone knows, losses, changes, setbacks, the kind of invisible weight that makes sitting still feel like safety. But safety isn't the same as healing, and stillness, when prolonged, can begin to feel like surrender. Your heart doesn't want you to surrender. It wants you to return to your body, to your breath, to the quiet daily movements that remind your entire system, I'm alive, I'm listening. You don't need to start big, you just need to start. Stand up now, even for a moment. Notice how your body adjusts, how your blood flows, how your heart responds. That's the conversation, that's the beginning. From there, you build. A few steps after breakfast, a slow stretch before bed, a deep breath every hour. These are not empty gestures. They are signals to your cells, your arteries, your nerves. We are not done. And your heart, in return, adapts. It becomes stronger, more efficient, more vibrant, because that's what it was built to do when supported. So don't wait for a crisis to move. Don't wait for pain to tell you what your breath and blood already know. Begin now. Begin again. Your heart still trusts you. It's not asking for everything, just a little more than yesterday. One foot, one moment, one heartbeat at a time. Movement isn't a punishment, it's a reunion. And you, right now, are invited back. It always begins in the quiet. Not in the crash of illness or the roar of diagnosis, but in the soft moments we overlook. The long sit at the kitchen table, the hours in front of the TV, the ache you dismiss, the breath you ignore, the tiredness you chalk up to just getting older. But your heart knows better. It feels the hours build. It feels the pressure mount. It feels the difference between motion and stillness in ways no test or chart can fully explain. Because your heart isn't just an organ, it's a witness to everything. And it's been quietly asking for your help. You don't need to overhaul your life to protect your heart. You don't need to become someone you're not. You simply need to honor the fact that this body, your body, was never designed for endless stillness. It was designed for cycles of rest and motion, of stillness and rhythm. And while rest is holy, stillness without movement becomes a weight. Not one that shows up overnight, but one that sneaks in slowly, through fatigue, through brain fog, through that creeping sensation that you're just not quite yourself anymore. That's not age alone, that's habit. And habits can change. The truth is, you have more power than you think. You've survived more than most. You've adapted, endured, adjusted. And this next step, this shift from sitting to moving, isn't about chasing youth. It's about reclaiming function, reclaiming clarity, reclaiming the rhythm your heart has been beating for all along. Because even now, your heart is on your side. It hasn't counted you out. It hasn't closed the door. It's waiting for footsteps, for deep breaths, for intention, for proof that you still believe in your own strength. And once it gets that proof, it responds faster than you think. So what can you do right now? Stand up, walk to the window, take a deep, full breath, roll your shoulders, flex your ankles, shake your wrists. Not because it burns calories, but because it sends a signal that life is still moving through you, that you are not done, that you refuse to sit your way into decline. Make it a ritual. Every hour on the hour, offer your heart one gesture of respect. One sign that says, I haven't forgotten you. I know you're working. I'm working with you now. Let this be your promise that you won't go another day ignoring the cost of stillness, that you won't wait for a warning sign that could have been avoided, that you'll see movement as nourishment, not punishment, that you'll listen to your breath, feel your feet, use your arms, reclaim your rhythm. Let this be your return to circulation, to strength, to confidence in your own body. Let this be your quiet rebellion against the lie that it's too late, that the damage is done, that the decline is inevitable. It's not. You are not too old to move, you are not too far gone to improve, and you are certainly not too broken to begin again. Your heart has waited patiently, beat after beat, hoping you'd remember what it needs. You, moving, breathing, choosing, not for someone else, not for the past, but for the you who is still here, still alive, still incredibly, irrevocably capable. Stand up, start now, stay moving. Your heart can't handle the pressure of stillness, but it can thrive with your partnership, and that is the most powerful medicine of all.